right here. Ooh, if I did everybody, the biggest gift, the biggest. Thank you for being my friend. Oh, yeah.
Ted, where do we start from? You've done so many things.
Let's start at the beginning when I was a little boy.
Yes, you were born January 5th. I
Wow.
won't give you a year.
Thank you, baby.
And you grew up in Oakland, California.
Oakland, California. I was very fortunate. I had a high school teacher that, drama teacher, that gave me some wonderful advice. He's my friend to this very day. His name is Tom Wayne. And he set me on the path to being an actor and having a career in show business.
So when was your first gig?
My first gig out of high school or
Yes.
in high school?
In high school.
In high school, I was in a play that was called, was it You Can't Take It With You? I think it is You Can't Take It With You.
I heard of that.
Yeah, and I had like 4 lines in the play. And of course there was a lot of ad-libbing because it was the end of the first act. So I turned 4 lines into a dozen lines. And it's kind of similar because when I had my first TV gig, it was on That's My Mama. And I only have 4 lines in That's My Mama.
I remember that show.
Yeah, that was a fun show.
How long were you in that?
That ran 2 years.
2 years.
That ran 2 years. And I saw Viola Davis recently on Jimmy Kimmel. And she remembered me, and she liked the show and the character that I played, Junior.
Yes.
So that's kind
Junior.
of, yeah, that's kind of wonderful.
And then you went on from there to the Love Boat, right?
Well, no,
Or did that come
there's a whole lot of
You done
ups
so
and downs in between.
Well, let's hear some of the downs. So
The
who is
downs,
it?
I did a show called Mr. T and Tina with Pat Morita. And Pat Morita, for those of you that don't know, was the gentleman that was in The Karate Kid.
Yes.
And Mr. Agagi, I think that's what his name was, and he taught the kid karate. Anyway, he had a series called Mr. T and Tina. And that show lasted 4 episodes. We shot 8, but after 4 they canceled it. And yeah, so it was a down. But by the same token, the up part of that was ABC Network saw kind of put together what I did in That's My Mama and what I did in Mr. T and Tina, and they kind of opened the door for me to be in Love Boat.
Oh, how did you love doing Love Boat? I mean, you were a great bartender.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
I had a lot of
watched it.
fun. We had, the whole thing about doing a series is the people that you work with.
That's so important.
But I'm telling you, and I loved the people that I worked with, and we had a great time, and we're still friends to this day.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it really is good. And I was talking to Fred Grandy recently, and he's found a theater in Syracuse, New York. I think it's called the Red House. And they want us to do a play together next year. So I may do that next year, is do a play with Fred Grandy.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so the friendships go on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a good deal.
So what has been some of your favorite things out of all the components of the industry? What do you enjoy the most?
Well,
I see you have directed.
yes.
And you've done a lot of directing.
Done a lot of directing.
Yeah.
I'm a playwright.
Playwright.
And an actor. I only got into it, Winifred, just to be an actor. That was my initiation, was I just wanted to be an actor. And then what happened is on the downtime, sometimes when you don't get a part, you're sitting around or you're trying to find an audition. So I started writing plays. And that's how I got into that, because I wasn't acting all the time. And that was in New York. I was in New York. I did a Broadway show called Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death.
That was a beautiful, by Melvin Van Peebles.
By Melvin Van Peebles,
Yeah.
who is a huge character. I mean, he's something else.
He's quite a man.
Oh, yeah. Have you met him?
Yeah.
You met
I
Melvin?
met
Oh, he was all over you,
package.
wasn't he?
No, he better not be.
He was, come on, Winifred. Tell the truth, shame the devil. You know Melvin was on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Melvin. That's 100% Melvin right there. Yeah, he's a character. I wrote my first play. It was a one-act play, and I asked him to come to the reading, and he said no.
He was like that.
And I said, why? He says, I'll come to a play reading of yours when you write a full-length play.
Really?
And I said, well, why? He said, well, you put as much heartache into a one-act as you do a full-length play.
Mm-hmm.
So get back to me when you do a full-length play.
Isn't it? So
yeah.
How did you feel about that?
Well, after that, I never wrote a one-act play. I have only one-act play. I've written about 25 plays.
I know. I have it written
Yeah,
down.
and 24 of them are all full-length plays. They're all full-length plays. And but that was, in a sense, he gave me a gift.
He did.
Yeah, because he made me think and work on the structure of the difference between a one-act and a full-length. And that was very helpful. So
How long did it take you to do a full-length play?
It depends. Some plays you have to work and figure out the structure and who the characters are and what you're trying to say. Mm-hmm. And some plays I say that they just drop down on you. I've written a play recently that won Best Play of 2017 from the NAACP Theater Awards.
You got the award.
I got the award, and it's called the prequel of Othello, The Cause My Soul. Now that play just dropped down on me. There was no way I could not write that play. Well, I was in Scotland, and we were doing the Fringe Festival in Scotland.
That's so beautiful.
And I was trying to impress my wife, and there was a play that was going on
Mm-hmm.
that was a prequel to Macbeth. So I turned to my wife, trying to impress her, and I said, I could write a prequel to a Shakespearean play.
And you did.
And she said, what play? And I said, Othello. And the minute that I said Othello, play dropped down on me.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, I couldn't stop writing.
It was already there within you. And
Yeah.
It
I just had to say the words. And once I said the words,
you manifested that.
yeah, it came right out.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, it becomes one of the best plays of last season. So I was very happy, very pleased. But over the years, you learn certain techniques as a writer, what makes a good play, how to develop character, how to do plot turns, how to end the first act, that sort of thing. So the structure and stuff, the homework that goes into writing a play, I learned, and that took years. But
did you take any writing?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I know
took
you
writing
studied
classes
at the Royal Academy.
Yeah, that's why.
Dramatic Arts in the UK.
Yes,
I read up on you.
You sure did, didn't you, baby? And that's where I was first. I was first introduced to Othello. Was at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts.
That's where you were.
Yeah, and so I have.
You loved it from that moment.
Oh man, it's
Othello.
a great play.
Yeah,
it's a great play.
So meaty, and it's just powerful.
It is. It is, and it's. Do you know who Ira Aldridge is, Winifred?
Yes, I've heard of them.
Oh, all right, good. So I'm gonna explain to your audience. Ira Aldridge was the first black Shakespearean actor to do Othello.
That's right.
He did it in 1824 in England on the stage, and over his life he toured, and he died in 1867.
19th century. Wow.
Yeah, 19th century actor.
Wow.
And recently they had a celebration of his life. He died in Łódź, Poland.
Oh, wow.
And I went back to Poland, and I was part of the people that honored Ira Aldridge.
When did you do that? What
I
year?
did that last year.
You get around, man.
Yeah, well, no moss growing under my feet here,
I
under
love
my
it.
shoes, because you never know.
I agree with that. Life is like ice cream. We got to enjoy it before it melts. The affinity with Othello, how come you're really big on Othello?
Well, you know what, Winifred, when I went to the Royal Academy in London, that was one of the first things they pushed towards my way, and I was hesitant and resistant until I learned the play. And once I learned the play and the context of which the play was done, a lot of us do not know that. That we don't know that Shakespeare, who his model was for the character, the fact that it came from an Italian novel by an author named Cinthio. So I just started peeling away the layers that were connected to Othello. And what I noticed was there were no black actors on film that had done Othello. None. And so in 1989, after I had done the show, I had a little money in the bank.
You had plenty of money. You made money.
I did all right.
You
And so I
did.
decided to invest in doing a film version of Othello.
Wow.
Yeah. So there aren't any. I found out later that Yaphet Kotto did a version of Othello in the 70s before me. Then I did mine in 89, and then Lawrence Fishburne did a version, which was the first studio version.
Right.
That was done 6 years later. And so the idea, though, was that I love informing and educating and entertaining black audiences. So I went around the country to different colleges and schools showing the film. Yeah,
Right.
so that black audiences would know about Othello and the
Well,
character.
I
of
heard
Othello.
some controversy back in New York. I took a lot of workshops in theater,
Mhm.
and they had said that Othello was part black back during that time. I don't know how true that was.
He's absolutely
Yeah,
100%
apparent was-
black.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? Probably around the time you're talking about is they were going to have James Earl Jones do Othello, and a guy named Jonathan something. He's a doctor. He's an Englishman, and he said Othello wasn't black.
But I heard he was.
Well, of course he was, and
Yeah.
and they referred to him as a black man in the play. But
That's
what
right.
happened was British Equity said they could not let James Earl Jones play Othello because Othello wasn't black and James Earl Jones wasn't English. So they gave the part to an English white actor.
Really?
They gave it to Anthony Hopkins. They were doing this for
Yeah.
PBS because PBS was doing the whole canon of Shakespeare's plays, and that's when I got more involved in showing that Othello. If you ever see the Anthony Hopkins, you'll see he's a little dark, but he's not black. Do you know what I'm
he's
saying?
not. Yeah.
And they denied James Earl Jones his chance,
Thanks.
and so I picked up the gauntlet and I ran with it, and I did
I'm
my
glad
version.
you did that.
Well, thank you. Thank you, young
so
lady.
glad you did that.
Yeah. So the character's been around a long time, and I also wrote a musical about Ira Aldridge, who back in the 1800s was doing Shakespeare. And what I've learned is I started becoming kind of a history buff. And I call myself a footnote historian. And what I do is I take an American situation, historical situation, and I do it from a black point of view.
I love it.
So I find out what black people were involved in the situation,
Right.
and then I do the situation from those characters' point of view. So I have a play about the American Revolution that deals with George Washington and his favorite slave called George Washington's Boy. I've got a play about Harper's Ferry and John Brown, but there were 5 black guys with John Brown, so I do that play from the prospect of the 5 black guys. Two guys were killed at the ferry. 2 guys, black guys, were hung with John Brown, and 1 guy escaped. 1 black guy escaped named Osborne P. Anderson, and my play is called The Journals of Osborne P. Anderson. This is all true, 100% true. But the white historians brush over their contribution. And then I have a trilogy, and the last play in the trilogy is a Civil War play about a black girl named Mary Bowser, who was a Union spy. And she pretended to be an uneducated slave girl. She worked in Jeff Davis's White House, and she was a spy for the Union.
Isn't that to get all the information?
Yeah, yeah. So we should know our heroes.
We
And
should.
yeah, and
Is
that's,
there anything we can come and see? Is there anything coming up?
I haven't done anything. This was last year. The Cause My Soul was last year, so I'm working on a new play now, but I don't have any dates or anything
dates
coming
set
up.
up,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And I'm in the middle of writing it, so it's going to take a little while. Yeah.
Are you still teaching at USC? You were
I
teaching,
taught.
the
I
cinema
taught.
theater.
Yeah, I taught film directing at USC. I will be in Ohio, at Ohio State University in September, and I'm going to be teaching a class there in directing and playwriting.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
You're going to do it only for that semester?
Yeah, yeah. I'm a guest artist, a guest speaker, so
I
I'll be
like
there, kind of like a master's class,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'll teach the class there, and it'll be probably about a week or so that I will be there, not a whole semester.
Well, let me ask you, how do you feel when you're performing and writing? What gives you the most high?
It used to be acting, but now, because I direct and I love actors, and one of the things is when you see an actor understand their character
Mm-hmm.
and get the nuances of their character, that gives me a high. Because now it's theirs, they own it, and then they proceed to delineate the character for the audience. And part of that is my helping as much as I can to help the actor get there. So I really enjoy that process because I've worked with some directors that were not helpful. I'll put it that way.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So I try to be helpful to the
I like that.
yeah, to the actor. So I really enjoy that. I enjoy playwriting. I enjoy hearing the words from a scene that I have written spoken. I really enjoy that, and especially when you got good actors. And then every once in a while, I like standing on the stage or in front of a camera and acting myself. So I came in as an actor, but what happened in the course of my journey, I garnered all of these other avenues that that I really enjoy.
And I think that's wonderful to be able to do that.
Oh, thank you.
What do you do for fun outside of that with your wife?
Well, I'll tell you what I just did.
What?
My wife is OCD, I mean,
really?
oh yeah, I mean, if you move a candle, she knows the candle's been moved. But I went out to See's chocolates
Yes.
today, and I bought all these different kinds of See's chocolates, okay? And I put them all over the house. So, and I'm teasing her because she says she can always see when something's not in place.
Yeah.
So now she's gonna see something's not in place and there's chocolate there. So I heard her just on my way here. I heard her when I was driving out, getting ready to leave out the garage. She said, "I found it." So she's gonna find chocolate in all the different
I love
rooms.
it.
Yeah,
I
so
love
that's
it.
fun. I like to cook for my wife. When I was dating my wife, we would cook. And we would cook together in the kitchen, and I still like to do that.
That's so wonderful. Do you have any single brothers I could meet?
My brothers just passed away. Actually,
Oh, darn it.
yeah, my brothers just passed away, both of them.
Oh, both.
Yeah, I have one, the young guy, and he was fooling around with some stuff he shouldn't fool around with.
Sorry
and,
to hear that.
Yeah, so he's gone. And then my younger brother, just under me, he got cancer. And but they're watching, they're looking down on us.
They are.
Yeah, they're checking you out to see how.
Hello.
Yeah.
I want to hear about your wife. How did you meet her? This is your second marriage.
This is my
right?
second marriage. My first marriage, my wife was a dancer. And I used to produce her dance concerts. And it went, the more successful I got, some people cannot handle success. And so things erupted, and not only from her, but from the family. So it became difficult. We had two boys, two great little guys, and I ended up, as they say, growing away. Okay, I grew in a direction, and so the things she wanted me to give up show business, and
Oh, no.
and she was a dancer, and but that was like you know how some people know that that's the line you can't cross?
Mm-hmm.
It was never said until we were working it out, and then it came to a point when she said that, and I believe she knew that was the line I couldn't cross because I love show business.
And you
And-
shouldn't have to give up anything in any relationship.
Yeah, if they love you, right?
That's right.
So I was single for a while, and I learned how to play tennis. And this was back in the 80s. And in the 80s, they would send celebrities around the world if they played tennis. But you had to have a certain level game. Okay? So mine was below par. So I went to a tennis college to raise my game so that I could get some of these gigs, you know, because they'd send you to Paris, they'd send you to London, to Madrid, you know, as well as Palm Springs, New York, whatever. So I like to travel. So I went to this tennis college, and I met this little girl who was running the tennis college. And our first meeting was not auspicious in any sense of the word, but I kind of grew on her. And eventually she started to like me. And actually, it was my writing. I told her about a play I was writing, and I told her what the play was about. She didn't believe me, so I said, I'll send you a copy of the play. And she said, well, you got to give it to me the next day because you'll go home and write down everything
That
you
you
said. You know, I know you're just trying to get over. You'll go home and write down everything you said and give it to me in 2 weeks. I said, no, okay, definitely. I'll give it to you the next day. And I gave it to her the next day. And
She probably was impressed with it.
I think, she certainly liked the play. And the play sort of opened the door.
And you started dating?
We started dating a little bit, yeah. I would, and then I would go out of town, and I like to cook and she likes to cook, and on our dates we would cook for each other. And when I would go out of town, she would make a huge shoebox full of chocolate chip cookies and send them to me, and I would share it with the cast.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, she's a sweet girl.
So
She's really sweet.
She's not in the industry, is
No, not at all.
Okay.
Winifred, not at all, and that's why she was an athlete, you know. And this shouldn't have worked, whereas my other wife was a dancer.
And you think that would have worked?
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing. When I was in high school, I was madly in love with this girl who was a cheerleader and a musician. Okay? And my wife encompasses a little bit of the women that I met in my journey. So my wife is a dancer. She takes dance class. My wife is a musician. She plays piano. My wife is a painter. She teaches painting to high school kids, and they've won awards and stuff. And so at one point when I was in college, I dated a woman that was a painter. It's just the weirdest thing that my wife encompassed all the things of the women that made large